Lesson number 1 is learning how to say no. Say it with me, no. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wealth Wellness. If you're new here, hello, my name is Rachel and I'm a certified wellness coach. And I'm bringing you inspiration and tools to live your best life filled with balance, wholeness, and wellness. And we're emphasizing your physical and mental spiritual health. So if that interests you, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the like button as we continue. So the last time we spoke, we discussed boundaries and how important they are to protect our innermost values. Kind of like how we protect our house or our apartment, because we have the most expensive items within our household and we don't like just anybody having access to them. That's why it's important to have boundaries. So for that reason, today we are going to discuss how we can implement boundaries in a way where other people can receive it. So lesson number 1 is learning how to say no. Say it with me, no. No. I don't know if I heard you, but I'm just gonna trust that you said no. No is such a simple word, but it also gives you a little bit of freedom. If you don't know necessarily how to say something or do it tactfully, but you know it just doesn't feel right, just practice saying no. And I just want you to remember, anytime you're saying no to something, you're saying yes to something else. So though it may be discouraging or you feel like it's harsh to just say no, just know that you're saying yes to the valuables that you want to spend more time on, which is going to relate to having more peace within yourself. And just know also that people are going to respect you more. Our second lesson, how we can implement our boundaries, is using an affirmation sandwich. Say it with me, an affirmation sandwich. Very good. Anyways, using an affirmation sandwich is basically placing your clear boundaries, but you're doing some sugar before and some sugar after. For example, let's say one of your very best friends invites you to this really nice weekend or some type of trip that's really expensive and really out of your budget. However, your financial freedom is now more important than just this trip alone. However, you really value that relationship. So you can consider how to say no to this trip. You can say, first of all, I'm so delighted that you've invited me to this trip. I'm really honored that you consider me so close. However, I'm not able to make this trip. To make it up to you, I would love for you to come over my house and have a staycation when you come back so we can celebrate your birthday together. You see that? A lot of times when you implement boundaries, there could be a lot of pushback. Just remember, if you value that relationship, to reiterate how precious they are in your life. However, this opportunity does not align with your values at this moment. So those are the 2 tips that I have for you to implement your boundaries. Is number 1, saying no, and number 2 is the affirmation sandwich. But I also want to give you some tips when you are applying boundaries with other people. Maybe you haven't done it before and you might be getting a little bit of pushback. So it's really important for you to remember to be consistent with your boundaries. That's why it's important to not just say no to everything that you don't always feel like or things like that. And it's important to know your values behind it, because that's going to ground you into making your boundaries more consistent. So be consistent, because that's going to help other people to know how they need to treat you. Another tip is to keep it simple. I've noticed that a lot of times when we give a lot of reasons to why we don't want to do something, a lot of people can come back with a counter. Keep it simple. The simpler it is, the less likely people are able to push back, because they don't have as much context clues as to how they can kind of pivot and push that boundary. So you want to keep it clear and keep it simple. Another tip that I want to share with you is just to remember to stay calm while you're presenting your boundaries, because you are totally entitled to them. I know sometimes people can make you feel unreliable for having boundaries, or that you are not a good person. But sometimes when people, like I said earlier, when they have such free reign to your valuables at any time and they have that fence, they can start feeling pushed back. So just remember to stay calm, and that comes from knowing your reason. Again, make sure you know your reason for the boundary, so you can stay calm in presenting it and look for other options that are more applicable for you and what you're more comfortable with. And it brings me to another point, is you have to be responsible for your emotions and not the emotions of the other person when you're setting the boundaries. Just remember that this is the reason why it's important to you. Oftentimes people can get emotional just because they had free access before, or they might feel really threatened in a relationship with you at this point, or they might feel like you're taking a step backwards in their relationship with you. So just make sure to not take on the responsibility of the other person's emotions. Just stay clear, just stay calm, and you can even come up with an idea that's more comfortable for you. But don't be swayed. People will adjust and people will respect you because you're not just saying yes to anything. Remember, whenever you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And whenever you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So just keep remembering that. And last but not least, the last tip that I want to give is that you, of course, want to be firm. But if you ever have a chance to compromise that you're comfortable with, just know that you have the power to do so. Remember, it's a fence, but you have the right to open it and close it as you see fit. So even though you have a clear, concise boundary, just know that you're just taking ownership of maybe if you want to make an exception, but you want to move slowly and you don't want to do anything you're uncomfortable with, okay? Think of it this way. You are God's masterpiece, and it's really important to be a good steward of yourself, of your mental thoughts, of your well-being. And sometimes certain relationships can have a toll on us. So just remember how special you are and how worthy you are to be treated fairly and justly. So pray about the boundaries that you want to have, and pray that God can continue to give you the strength, and pray that the right relationships will stick and that the wrong relationships may fade away. Just remember that you are God's masterpiece, and you want to be a good steward of what God has given you. So I pray that this video was helpful. Please let me know what strategy you decide to use. And I also want to encourage you to leave a comment as well. What is some of your experience like? What have you learned? Because I definitely want to build a community of like-minded people that want to continue to grow in their wellness. I would love for us to have a community where we can strive to complete balance, wholeness, and wellness together. So until the next one, I will see you later, and just remember, be balanced, be whole, and be well, okay?